Hey, good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Mortgage Coach Tuesday interview. Today, we are blessed to have the one and only Danny Horanyi. What's up, Danny?
Hey, how's it going, everybody?
Good to have you, man. So, the topic is going to be around rate shopping, but we all know that that's just kind of a symptom to a bigger challenge, and there's a lot of strategies to, optimize conversion. For folks that don't know who you are, if you could just tell everybody what market you're in, a little bit about your mortgage practice, and then let's focus on how to optimize conversion.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm in San Diego, California, part of a pretty large team. We have all in, including our ops partners, about 46 team members, and last year did a little over 300 million in loan volume.
And tell us a little bit about the mortgage practice as a whole. Is it mostly purchase business, realtors? How many different realtor partners do you have? Let's break down the model a little bit more.
Oh, absolutely. So primarily realtor. We're talking 97% realtor referrals. We were about 74% purchase in 2017. Right now, we're trending much higher than that. We're approaching 90% purchase. We've closed about year to date, not counting or even counting the transition month, close to 150 units for about 75 million so far. And the way we kind of, as far as kind of breaking that down, as far as realtor partners, we have our big bulk of our business comes from onesie twosie agents. There's over 300 agents that are referring us, fewer than 5 clients, opportunities, or leads per year. We invest a lot of time with what we call our channel partners, our channel account partners, who refer us 12 or more closings per year. But the bulk of it is really coming from the onesie twosie agents that there's a much larger population of them, so you have to kind of nurture that database of partners in a different way than you do the ones that are consistently involved and in business with you month after month.
So let me make sure I got this. So you've got these channel partners, and you define it as anybody that does more than 12 a year. So that's right. Averaging 1 a month. That's channel partner. And then anybody that is doing, 1 to 5 loans a year with you, that is an active realtor relationship, and you're kind of managing those 2 types of realtor partners. So
yeah, absolutely, and that's more than half of our business comes from that second group that you mentioned. The 1 to 5 guys.
So, by the way, community, I would love whether you put this at Facebook, whether you put this in our GoToWebinar. If you're watching this on a recording, put below. But how many channel partner realtors do you have, by Danny's definition? 12 or more, and what percentage of your business is that? I would love to just know from the community. Are you the same, where you're getting the majority not from your channel partners, or are you getting the majority from your channel partners? So let's do a little bit of masterminding around that question, everybody. So Danny, let's try to drive this conversation around conversion, at the point of sale, because we all know that, I don't want to say there's less leads, but when you net it, refi market's down, it's a pure purchase business. Every lead matters. So conversion matters. But let's just say what is most important to your success in 2018, and then we can drive it into, best practices for conversion.
Well, I mean, you really touch on a main challenge right now. There's actually not fewer leads. In fact, if we look at our year-over-year lead flow, even though our business has transitioned from, let's call it 65-35 purchase refi mix to 90-10, and those refi leads, right? That's mostly database nurturing. So there was a pretty big chunk of those leads that we were managing and dealing with. So if you take those away, you'd expect 35% of the leads to also go away, but we're only seeing about a 10% reduction in our lead flow, which is telling me we're still getting a ton of opportunities. And I feel that too, right? My phone is not ringing any less. Our team is not any less busy, but what we're ending up running into is we used to have a conversion ratio of about 34%, and that's dropped to 28%. So that might not seem like a big deal, right? So it's only 6% change, but when you're talking about getting 230, 240 leads a month, and you multiply that out over the course of the year, that turns into a pretty significant number. And so if everybody looked at their business and said, well, if I didn't get any more leads today, if on average I just kept on getting the same 30 a month, 40 a month that I'm getting, but I just increased my conversion by 5%, what would that mean for your business? I think you'll see that the process of nurturing and converting those leads is actually more powerful and valuable to you than the process of going out and increasing your lead flow from 30 to 40, right? And keeping your same level of conversion. So everything right now is about conversion. How are you going to get those leads that are coming into you to actually pop out the other side as a deal? And there's a ton of, I mean, really, Dave, today's conversation is about, how you transition from not met to met, how you transition from met to in escrow, in contract, and then what you can potentially do after closing, especially in the 0 to 6 month range, that can most effectively get you new additional opportunities to do business with other people that are like the past clients that just closed with you.
Love it. So by the way, I'm going to show my screen real quick, and I don't want to spend a lot of time on this, but we believe so passionately that conversion is critical to your success. If you are a referral-based local mortgage professional, you need to convert like never before. And you need to realize what your conversion is and where the opportunity is. So we built an online calculator. I will push a link to this to our Mortgage Coach Facebook group. And we made it so that whether you're an individual loan officer and you want to analyze conversion and ROI to improve it, whether you're a branch manager and you want to look at your branch, or whether you're a regional or head of organization, you could just click a button and check that out. So, Mortgage Coach community, be ready to check that out. And just notice right at the top, like I said, originator, branch, enterprise. Highly recommend everybody is super clear on your conversion. So that it is just a massive opportunity to drive profits and success. And let's face it, price compression is here. I do think there's a paradigm shift. It's not going to go away. I mean, between internet companies that are mortgage companies and just the opportunity in the industry, it's tight markets, margin compression is not gone, and technology is going to continue to drive efficiency, taking cost out of the equation. So Danny, when you start talking about conversion, what's most important? Walk us through your paradigm on, I want to have the optimal conversion. Where does it start? And let's drill down on that a little bit.
So I'm going to back up even one step away from what the initial interaction is to kind of a super high, like 30,000 foot view of, what we see the components of conversion are. And really the decision-making process comes down to one thing, and pretty much one thing only, which is, does the client trust you enough to do business with you? Do they feel that you have their best interest at heart, that you can actually execute? And just to create a kind of a common language around this, we talk about it in two different ways on our team. One is very simplified, which is that whoever gets the highest score in a 2 meter calculation wins. So those 2 meters measure on one side value, how much impact can you actually have for that client? Do you have the best programs? Do you have the best rates? Do you have a process that's going to get their offer accepted faster? Do you have some tactical component that they recognize as valuable to them, right? Do you answer your phone on the weekend and in the evenings? What is your unique selling proposition on a value perspective? And let's say that's a meter from 0 to 10. And then on the other side, you have a relationship meter that also goes from 0 to 10. And that's where the client decides, do you really care about them? Do you know enough about their situation to guide them to a solution that's going to be appropriate for their family? Are you thinking about the long term for them? And those two scores, imagine you can get 0 to 10, 0 to 10. So max score is 20, worst score is 0. Whoever they're shopping you against, who, if they have a higher score than you combined between those two things, they're going to win that deal, right? So the place where we're getting beat up the hardest right now in the industry is in the value space, because clients are being told that the only question they should ask and the only thing that matters, the only thing they know to ask and to let matter for them in the value category is interest rate and fee. So if we know that that space has gotten very, very noisy, and we can continue to attack value, and I'm in no way suggesting you should not constantly evaluate your unique selling proposition and what makes you valuable and what you bring to the table from a loan expert standpoint. I'm saying that that space is a battleground that is very, very noisy. So what we're focusing on a lot more right now is the second meter, which is the relationship meter. And a good, analogy for this that I heard from a realtor partner of ours was that they were competing for a listing in their geographic farm. So they do a ton of business in this neighborhood. They're well known to be a very high value professional, getting top dollar for a listing. And the client ended up listing with their sister-in-law who lived in Seattle, Washington. So we're in San Diego, California, and the agent listed with somebody in Seattle, Washington. Not because they believed, I don't expect that they actually believed that that person was going to be able to provide them with more value, but because they knew them and they were in a relationship with them, and their combined score of value to relationship was greater. And the second framework we use is what we call the trust equation. And so I'm going to give this to you right now. I should have made a slide for this, actually, Dave. I didn't think about it ahead of time. Trust equals credibility plus reliability plus authenticity divided by self-orientation. So if you think of, those from a 0 to 10 point score, self-orientation, or let's say self-orientation is 1 to 10, right? If you, on the top line, you can get 30 points. On the bottom line, it's divided by, so you can get 1 to 10 points. So let's say you're 10 credible, 10 reliable, 10 authentic, you're a real person that connects well with people, divided by a 10 self-orientation, meaning really everything about that was tactically designed to benefit you and not them. You're going to have a combined score of 3. Whereas if you had 5, 5, 5 and a self-orientation of 1, you're really doing this from the standpoint of a fiduciary and a provider of information, and really a team member and partner. You can get 5, 5, 5 divided by 1 self-orientation, and you'd have a score of 15. So again, whoever has that combined score, you or your competition that's higher in trust, is going to earn the client. So does that make sense, Dave? Do you have any questions about that, or you want to dig into those two concepts more?
So first of all, I love the fact that you're being this intentional and you're thinking through it from a strategic framework perspective. And there's a lot of different models. We could debate over the nuances. I think the big takeaway is that you have a model, that you are executing around. It could be price and advice, like advice. Mm-hmm. And within advice, it's trust and authority. And within price, it's rate and fees. And then, of course, how you present your price and your advice. What questions do you ask that drives your price and advice? So Danny, I am going to ask you to either just write that up and put a post in the Facebook group, or create a slide. Like people are asking to repeat it. I don't necessarily want to repeat it because I do want to give it to you. So either Danny will give it to us in a slide, or I'll make a slide and I'll post it. And then I want that to start a conversation in the community. What's your equation? What do you think the equation is? And let's, as a community mastermind, kind of like this formula, because my takeaway is I love that. Let's have a report card, a way that we report on ourselves, and let's be getting A's. Whatever your model is, are you getting an A in every aspect of it? So,
and Dave, that's kind of why I wanted to bring it up, because it relates to everything we're going to be talking about from here on forward, right? Because you need to do a self-assessment. Are you credible, right? Do you have mortgage knowledge, right? Are you an expert and providing value, or are you seeking that knowledge so that you can be a credible expert that can really provide the information a family needs, right? Are you reliable? Once you create a treasure map for them, are you going to send them off into the wilderness, or are you going to hold their hand and walk them through each step of that process so that they know that you're truly there for them, that they can count on you, that you're going to be able to follow through? And are you authentic, right? Are you really there as Danny Horanyi, Dave Savage, the real person, right? I mean, for example, Dave, to your community, you're extraordinarily authentic. If anybody asked who you were, what you were about, right, the contribution, they would know, right? And if they were confronted with a question or choice, they could probably guess how you would respond or react to it, right? Your client should be able to do the same thing for you. They should know enough about the foundation of your person that they are going to expect how you're going to react and support them, right, in that process of buying the house. So if you look at those, you know, for me, and I again, self-assessment, I'm far more credible and reliable than I am authentic. And that's just been something that I've been working on throughout my entire career. I tend to focus on the tactics more than I do about the relationship. And what I'm learning about myself and our business, the team that we built, is that I have to really evaluate that and build on that, because right now that's the battleground where we have an opportunity to win, is in the relationship and in the authenticity. And my tactical skills are becoming less and less valuable every day, and I need to focus more on authenticity if I want to win. So I just want to kind of frame that up, because all of these things, it's not just with your clients themselves, but with your business partners. I mean, these are things that you can bring into your life, right? Not just your business, right? Be more credible, be more reliable, be more authentic, be less self-oriented, and win.
Love that. So let's get tactical now. And before I get tactical, you know, one thing that I got clear on coming into this conversation, saying, hey, I am creating this rate shopping playbook. And so, by the way, I posted a link to some of the scripts from ScriptPalooza and some of the other scripts from interviews that I've done. So check that out. And literally within the next week or two, I will be posting that on LinkedIn, and this call will go into that body of work. So if you have feedback, let us know. But one thing I got clear on, Danny, is that the way to kill it and reduce rate shopping, and when you do get into rate shopping, win, is if your goal is not just to beat rate shopping, if your goal is to go from you're a prospect, you don't know me, to you're a client for life. So literally at the end of that, let's just say within the month after you close the transaction, the bookends at how you executed, that person on the other end is like, I will never use another loan officer. You know, you're executing this client for life framework. So do you align on that thinking?
I'll break it down, right? And I'll give you some of these tactical component parts. So we went high level. We're going to create this funnel down to, you know, scripts and tips, if we can, as long as I can keep it concise enough. So
I'm going to make you get some scripts. So we're not getting off this call without specific scripts.
Okay, so I'm going to say not met to met, right? So that's the first step in this process, but I'm going to actually at the end of this kind of loop it all the way back around, where those not met people are actually, you can influence who those not met people are. But that's for the end. So spoiler alert, right? So your not met becomes met because for us, they got referred to us by a realtor, right? So how that happens dramatically influences the next phase, right? How engaged they are through the pre-approval process and whether or not we get them into contract. So for this, and there were some scripts that came out of ScriptPalooza, and I'm super stoked, Dave, that you're going to be transcribing that and getting it out to everybody. The script is important, right? It's a multiplier, but the most important thing is just that you have a system in place where you have coached and trained your referral partner on what to say about you, and you've given them the why behind how that benefits them, how the referral partner's strong referral of you is going to loop back into more business for them. So when we have the conversations, we have a kind of a 3-page little pitch that we have built out, which is some handouts that we bring to realtor meetings, where it shows kind of who we are. We share our team motto, or we have a couple. One is educate, communicate, execute, which I've shared on other calls, right? So, you know, that we come at it with the spirit of an educator. We really want to craft a plan for that family. We communicate constantly throughout the process so that the people know that we're there. That creates that reliability piece throughout the process. We're making what we call micro promises and then honoring them. You know, I'm going to call you back at this time. I'm going to send you a total cost analysis in the next 45 minutes. Are you going to be ready at a computer where we can review that, or have you downloaded the app on your mobile device so that we can review it wherever you're at, right? So asking those questions and then actually following through on it, right? That's like letting the realtor know that they can set up those expectations with their clients so that it tees you up for a super warm handoff, right? So that person is not coming to you as a Zillow lead or an internet lead, somebody that you paid for that's just out in the universe. A fraction of the trust that your partner has in you has been transferred to that client, so that when they come to you, it's that they believe they know enough about you to engage you as somebody that they know a little bit, right? And it also lets if you're doing this well and you have the rest of the process figured out also, you truly are converting at a higher rate for the referral partner. And if you can actually break that down, we're finding right now that in a multiple offer situation, so if you two or more people are in contract, you'd expect a maximum 50 or competing for the same property, you'd expect a maximum 50% on average ratio, right? Because it's just a crapshoot. Everybody's going in, and your agent's client is there in the mix of everybody. So half the time they get it, half the time they don't if it's multiple. We're finding that about 76% of the time, even when there's 15 people, right? So we have from 2 to 15, I think is the highest one I've seen recently, competing for the same house. 76% of the time we're getting it, which means that agent is not going to have to put that person back in their car, isn't going to have to drive them around for another 90 days finding another dream house. They've already done their job and found it for them. It's our job as a partner to make sure that we're executing and getting that person into escrow and into contract, right? So this is all to say, have a strategy, equip your agent with what they should say and why it's important for them to do it every time consistently, because it's actually going to, if you do it right, it's actually going to put more money in their pocket. So that's going from not met to met.
So I want to make sure everybody connects the dot. Like when you audit your conversion, remember we're converting from lead to client for life. You need to audit, does your realtor refer you well consistently at the highest, most strategic way? And in ScriptPalooza, we actually had a realtor on the phone, and we had other people talk about the scripting that you want your realtor to use, and then make sure that they're tactically doing it and they have a why behind it. Now, Danny, one of your scripts in ScriptPalooza was the counteroffer analysis.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if any realtor kind of knew that, hey, my loan officer not only closes loans on time, keeps promises, and gives 5-star service, but my loan officer actually helps create clarity and urgency, in that counteroffer process and with first-time buyers. I mean, that would be a reason enough for them to refer you right.
Dave, I'm going to blow your mind, I think, a little bit with this next comment, because I don't think I've ever mentioned it on a different call, but we're actually deploying the counter-offer analysis proactively. So, for example, if we have a strong partner calls up, says, Danny, this is the house. This is the house for them. If we go in weak, we're going to lose it, and I will lose sleep at night knowing that they literally passed on their dream house, but they're just not willing to offer the $10,000 more that I know that the seller needs to make this happen. And so we don't even necessarily wait for the counteroffer, right? We can, even at the point of initial offer, when we have a strong agent partner that is acting in the best interest of their client, they know what's needed to make it happen. We can actually go in at that point before the counteroffer even comes. The seller hasn't even intervened yet, and proactively frame up what that extra $10,000 means. And then the realtor's job then is to emotionally connect this dream house, right? Communicate value of what it means to get this house versus being back in the marketplace, using that counteroffer, or this is a proactive counteroffer analysis to get them teed up properly. So we're getting a ton of traction with that right now, just reapplying the counteroffer analysis in a different way.
Yeah, and really when you think about it, it all fits under the umbrella of cost of waiting, and right. The counteroffer is at the counteroffer. But now you're saying you're implementing a process even before that. It's part of, and I don't know what the name is, but if you want to make an offer that has the highest chance of getting approved, it's an analysis to help the buyer get in that space so they make the right offer. We'll think of a good name for that. But nice. but for now, it's a counteroffer analysis or a cost of waiting. I love that.
So now you've met them, right? So they've gone from not met to met, and this is where it's extremely important that you have a super great system, right? So if you look at ScriptPalooza, other people that have been interviewed or have presented in these calls, every single one of them has strong systems, right? They might not be the best systems, but just having any system is better than trying to do this very, very complicated and complex job just by force of will, right? So what we call our system from MET all the way through closing is our referable experience, right? So we've kind of branded out this, just shrunk in my chair here. We kind of put a label on this process telling the referral partner agent what it is that they're gonna get, right? They're getting a referable experience. And that starts with us answering our phones live as often as we possibly can. So being able, everybody here is busy, can be busier, but if you can just make it a point to answer your phone live, there's some psychological trigger that happens in the mind of the client that tells them immediately that they're important and that you're going to be available to communicate with them. Even if you know that you're going to have to later on set different expectations around what the cadence of communication is going to be, that initial phone call is just absolutely mission critical. Then it's super important to have a clear way to gather the client's information, using every step of the way, every opportunity to get authentic, connect with them around, the ScriptPalooza scripts and the playbook. What you're going to notice with many of the people's scripts, including the ones that we share, it invites people to tell about their lives, and it gets to what we call the need beyond the need. So the first step for us in the referable experience is what we call the hopes and dreams call. There is no intent of gathering a social security number in the hopes and dreams call. There's no intent of digging into the nuances of their tax returns in the hopes and dreams call. It's simply to find out what the true need is behind their purchase, right? So they called you, and I'm going to frame this up very, very quickly, right? They called you because they want a loan, right? They want a loan because they want a house, right? But why do they want a house, and why do they want that exact house? I mean, I've had these conversations, and this is 1 in 500,000 conversations, but where I ask, oh, hey, how's it going? I see that you're going to be moving into the San Marcos area. That's near where I live. What's bringing you to that area? It's like, oh, we really need to be in this zip code. That's where we need to be. Okay, cool. Tell me a little bit about that, right? Like that, that is a great neighborhood, but what specifically about that zip code do you like? Oh, it's in the school district that we, really need to be in. Oh, it's an awesome school district. Is there anything in particular about that school district that's important to you? Well, yeah, actually, my daughter is autistic, and that's the only school that has the program that is appropriate for her, right? Now, my mission for them is all about getting their daughter into that school. It has very little to do with executing on a loan. So not only do we understand how we can serve them better because we're connected up to that need, our team and us as professionals are driven harder because we actually understand that our work is going to mean something at the end, right, for that family in a really tangible, emotional way, not just the tactics of putting them into an appreciating asset. So that hopes and dreams call is step one. Then the remainder of the referable experience is all about trying to combine as often as possible, leveraging both value and relationship. So as you guys have heard many, many times, 100% of our clients get a total cost analysis. And that's not changing. Even as the marketplace changes, this is a tool that is still extremely relevant because it allows us to connect with the client, enter the conversation that they're having in their own mind about what's my payment going to be? Can I afford it? Well, what happens if I go up $25,000 in price? What happens if the interest rate increases 0.25% before I find my house? We can answer all of these questions because really one of the things we can do for our client, for our referral partner, is help them get the client over the hump, right? Get them off the fence. So another framework for this is, excitement and fear, right? So if excitement's greater than fear, then they're going to act. Over time, especially right now in a marketplace where there's extremely low inventory and home values are continuing to increase, rates are continuing to increase, the fear just keeps rising. And we internally call this buyer fatigue, right? Where their fear keeps going up and their excitement over time kind of goes down. So we have to be sure that we're managing those two things for the client so that they don't get out of the process. I mean, that's one way that we can lose leads and have them not convert, is to have them just give up. And that's the worst possible way. I mean, I'm okay with going toe-to-toe with a competitor when it comes down to rate, but I'm not okay with us not, as an industry, not communicating enough value to our clients where they believe that homeownership is not the answer for them or it isn't worth it. And the total cost analysis is a massive tool where, one, I would highly recommend right now to never, ever let your client initially interact with the total cost analysis on their own. Even if you intend to put a video, even if they say, you know what, I'm super busy, they make time to get their haircut, they make time to go to the dentist. This is a big deal. They should make time to take 30 minutes for you to actively review the total cost analysis with them. And the video should be a follow-up to that. This is my personal recommendation for best practice. If you send the information off to them, even with the super strong video, without being there to field back and forth questions and be able to really get that need behind the need and squash some of the fear as you're tactically adding value to them, you're going to miss all the opportunity to build up that relationship side of the value relationship meters that I was talking about earlier.
So Danny, you've said a lot. We're about halfway through this. I want to respond to some of the questions that the audience is asking. So audience, some people, I'm surprised people still don't know what ScriptPalooza is. Some people are going, what is that? I mean, we had a couple thousand live, a couple thousand have watched it, but it is we had 12 of the top mortgage professionals in the country combined. They did over 1.3 billion, 12 loan officers. So the video is here. Also, if you look at the description of that video, we put a number of homework assignments, actual samples of Danny's cost of waiting analysis and his counter offer analysis. So there's an actual sample of that within that call. Also, if you're watching this call, I'll put a link below. So in this call, those same samples will be there. For those of you that asked about Danny's realtor meeting and process, really recommend that you just listen to a call. We did a whole hour on the perfect realtor meeting by Danny. There'll be a link below in this one. There's a link to that. So we're going to make that a supplement. Danny, one thing I do want to get, because some people want to make sure they really heard your, the scripting that your realtors are saying when they refer to you. So if you could just give us, whether it's talking points, what are your realtors saying to their buyers? So when they make the handoff to you, people want to make sure they really connect the dots on that and understand that. So if you just, at 5 minutes or less, kind of nail that for everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's really more about, I'll give some contextual scriptings, right? Some talking points, because I think that's, more valuable because scripts are really personal, right? And I don't mean that we hold them secret, right? We post our scripts everywhere, but so what I would say isn't necessarily going to be what will work when you say it, right? So, but getting the main points across is key. So the main thing that the agents communicate is, that in order for them to do the very, very best job for that client, the very, very best job of finding them a home, that they found that working with a strong lending partner is a huge component of that process. That the market is complex, the process is complex, and having somebody that can educate, communicate, execute around all of the things that family is going to need to really win, both in escrow and after. And in their experience, the Gaylord Hanson team, our team has been able to consistently deliver and be there for their clients, holding their hand throughout the entire complex process. And because of the fact that we generate tailored pre-approval letters, the fact that we do a cost over time analysis for them that really helps them understand and make choice, right? We don't just give them one option, and our referral partners know this because we actually walk them through a TCA in the realtor meeting. They see what it is. We come with the iPad. We let them experience it as if it was a client so that they can see, okay, when we say that referable experience, we try to demystify the process of what happens when they give us a lead and then it pops out as a closing on the other side or as a pre-approval, right, as the other side. What happens in that process, they learn what it is and they just can share that. The analogy that pops into my mind is I live in an area where there's a ton of microbrews, right? And I recently went on a brewery tour where they told me all about how the beer was made, right? And like all this complex process and the chemistry. And I was fascinated by it, right? And I had no idea, right? I'm just drinking the beer. But if you can educate your agents around how the referable experience is made, and they can then communicate how complex all of the ingredients and the chemistry is, it creates a stronger value proposition for you, because we don't get credit for how hard we work as an industry because we do a really poor job of communicating how hard it is, the things that we do are for the clients. They just assume that because we make it seem easy, that it must be close to worthless in value. So if we don't, one, let a third party validate how complex the job that we do is and how important it is to pick the right partner, and then we can then add on to that scripting around how valuable we can be for that client and how important it is for them to get, really the in-depth view. Some of the agents, and this will evolve over time for those of you who kind of implement this, they'll just start telling stories about clients that got burned by another lender, and then we came in and saved the day, right? Storytelling is a massively valuable way for the initial handoff to happen. So if you find that you have a huge win with a particular referral source, add that into how you ask them to introduce you, right? Say, just tell them like, 2-3 sentences about the Jones file and how, the other bank didn't review their tax returns until day 17 and found out that they couldn't make it happen because of an overlay, right? And just equipping them with what you do. And that way, if you have a referable experience and all the agent does is just share what that referable experience is, you're super likely to follow through on anything that they share with that client because you're already consistently delivering it.
Okay, so let's break this down. We got the checklist. So your partner is educated about why you. They are trained in the scripting of how to refer you. Major components are execution, communication, and they understand the total cost in the context of how it helps the realtor, in the offer process. You do this client consultation where you're making, and you're delivering value that will last more than just transactional. By the way, are you doing annual reviews now? Is that something that you promise and is part of the process that you're delivering in the market?
Yeah, and within our new, this is something that is kind of new to us now, we have a lifetime guarantee as well, where if somebody refinances a loan that we do for them, then we end up crediting them back the lender fee, right? The $1,400 lender fee. So it helps create accountability around those annual reviews as well, because we're saying, hey, we commit, you hire us today to be your lender for life, and we're going to put our money where our mouth is, and we need to communicate with you on a minimum an annual basis to share with you where you're at, kind of a check the oil type thing, so that we can also understand what might be changing in your life, so we can tee you up for the next event where we might be able to be a partner for you.
Okay, so I'm going to come back and actually ask you to kind of script that, because one of my favorite interviews this year was with Tim Brahim, and he's got this script that he's very well known for, where it's like, he's getting the deal and setting up the second deal at the same time. By the way, recommend you check out Tim's script. I'll put a link to it below. But let's go through this. So educate partner, train on scripting, additional consultation, total cost is a value prop within that. By the way, 5-star experience. So we could spend multiple calls going, what does it take to deliver a 5-star experience? But let's face it, you're not going to have a client for life if they don't give you a 5-star. If most of the people that come through your system don't get that. And then there's one thing that I'm seeing more mortgage coach members doing is they're delivering like an annual review within 30 days of closing. Now, it's not an annual review, obviously, but it's a mortgage review. And it's kind of like, hey, we told you we're going to do this. We even have a couple of our big lenders that are automating this, and like everybody's, getting the, hey, here's your loan. And if you paid an extra 100, 200, this is how much faster you'd pay it off. And I'll update this if rates change. And at a minimum, I'll update it annually. We're seeing that as a trend in our community. Are you guys doing that or thinking about that?
Yeah, so the way we execute that is we show them what a refinance would look like. So basically, here's your closed. So we do our initial consultation where we just talk about, hey, here's what you're pre-approved for. So pre-approval consultation. We do a TCA at lock. These are your choices now that you're in escrow. Pick one of these. Our personal loan managers who take over the file and kind of handle the contract to close transaction, they now update the TCA with fees once the escrow provider, when they're delivering the loan estimate. So the way they're actually delivering the loan estimate now is attached to an email where there's an updated TCA link, and then the personal loan manager is actually recording a video explaining the LE. Same thing's done at the CD. And then now the customer's been in this ecosystem where they're expecting, this is how you communicate about mortgages, right? This is the tool used to communicate about mortgages. And so we end with, this is what it would look like if your rate went down 0.25% and you did a no cost refi, right? This is how that would look. I want you to see this so that you can trigger in your mind, if you start hearing things out on the internet or in the news, that we're watching this too, but we don't have a perfect net. So if you see something that looks like this, please call us, because we're working behind the scenes for you, and we have that lifetime guarantee that we can then execute that plan for. So we're kind of distributing out our past clients as salespeople for us as well, selling, because we now gave them what a trigger looks like for a call to us.
Love that. So at the point of sale, you're educating them in a way that's unique and valuable, and then they're trained now that I'm expecting this a year from now. I'm expecting this when rates changed. You're training that customer to be your client for life, and by that time, whether they've opened it on their mobile phone or their desktop, they've looked at the total cost analysis a lot of times, and they see that as something unique and valuable to you.
So Dave, one of the things I want to just make sure that we touch on here as we kind of get into the last quarter of this call is probably what a lot of people showed up for, right? Is specifically that rate shop moment. We talk a lot about the pre-frame, and I think what everybody's going to realize once we get there is that this is where the battle's actually won, right? The pre-frame is everything. If you get down to that moment in time where the client says, hey, I just went to this big box bank and the teller took me into the back room and hustled me down to 0.5% lower than you, right? Like, once you get to that moment, if you haven't pre-framed this out, that person's calling you pissed. They're not curious, they're furious, right? So we have to be sure that we've built a strong enough foundation of trust so that those people that get into that moment, they're not calling you pissed. They're calling you like, hey, I need you to help break this down for me, right? Because those calls will absolutely come, right? So
right.
One of the scripts that we use in the kind of initial few days is what we call our professional expectation script. And ScriptPalooza had a ton of these. So really, you guys, anybody on this call, watch ScriptPalooza, look at the transcription, and decide for you how you want to engage with clients. But one of the things that I would highly recommend, putting firmly in your mind is, if you're dealing with somebody that isn't connecting with you, right, that you're not obviously getting in a relationship with, and that the whole thing's going to come down to value only, you get super clear with them very early before you invest a lot of emotion, before you invest a lot of time. You get really clear that they're here only for rate. You decide whether or not you're in the ballpark with them for whatever their expectations are. And if you're not, let them go. Don't let those energy vampires suck all of your power that should be spent on the people that really get what you're doing, because your impact on those people that you really should be caring about and loving on is going to be diminished by those people that just don't get your process. So we call that our, the energy vampires and the avatar clients. And so I mentioned before that, the feedback loop that goes from, not met to met, somebody that closes to a past client. I'm going to skip to the end because I think it's super relevant to this, is that if you do a super good job at creating clients for life, they're going to refer you to their friends and family. And if you get friends and family referrals, those are 10 times better than realtor referrals. And the reason is that those people are, the trust transfer from a friend and family versus another professional is so much stronger, because you become part of their tribe, right? And you think about companies that have created tribes, like Apple has created tribes. Their products arguably better, but are they 50 to 100% better than the cost would suggest that they are? Maybe not, right? Maybe not 50 to 100% better, but the tribal mentality, right, the identity that comes with that is something that allows them to command a higher price, as they should. If you create identity within a tribe of your client groups, you're going to end up having your feedback loop from closed loan past clients into your not met group. You're going to actually find that those not met people are engaging with you as if they were a past client. So you're not having to hustle as hard. The trust quotient is already pretty close to broken.
So let's do this. We got 12 minutes left, and you called it the professional expectation script. I've heard a lot of people call it, the value proposition script. I want to make sure I pull that out of you right now. And then I also want to do a script where it's kind of like the counterpunch. It's like, hey, I went through the process. I used my professional expectation script, as you call it. And now, to Jeremy's point, there's counterpunches. So I want to make sure in this last 12 minutes, we get a few of those. So let me hear your professional expectation script so we've got a feel for it in this call.
Right. So it goes something like, Mr. Smith, thank you so much for sitting down with us today. Really appreciate you taking time out of your day to come into the office so that we can really, dig into what your family's needs are going to be. Before we go off, I'm a little bit of a nerd and I can kind of go down a lot of rabbit trails. So before we even get started, I want to be sure that I can get down some of the key questions that you came in here with, so that I don't just take us off on a journey that you don't even want to be on. So can we just get a couple things that are kind of the mission critical components? And then I let them talk, right? They tell me, oh, I'm here to find out what my payment is, or I'm here to find out how much house I can afford. Or sometimes they just say, well, I'm here for you to tell me what to do, right? Like, I'm not here to tell you what I need to know. You tell me what I need to know, right? And then I say, well, once I get all the information, I don't respond to any of those. I might make little comments here and there, but just kind of leaving them on the paper. And then I said, and what's the most important thing when you're deciding on who your mortgage professional is going to be? What's the most important thing that will drive that decision? And right now, because our clients are told by the internet, by chitter chatter, by the people around the water cooler that they should be getting a 3.75% interest rate still somehow, right? They're being told that they initially 9 out of 10 times they're gonna lead with rate, and they're gonna say, well, I just really want to go with whoever gives me the lowest rate and fee. It's absolutely super important. I mean, your payment is going to be something that you carry with you for probably the next 4 to 7 years. So we're definitely going to want to make sure that that's appropriate, and we have a tool that can help us really analyze the options that you have to make sure that you're getting the most effective solution for cost over time, not just upfront costs, which are obviously super important, but what that actually means over time for you. We're gonna dig into that. Are you also going to be looking for homes over the weekend? And they say, well, yeah, I work during the week, so I'm going to be, looking at homes over the weekend. Do you think you might, in this very, competitive environment, need advice or potentially a tailored pre-approval letter on the weekend? Well, yeah, I hadn't thought about it, but probably I will. One of the things that we found with our clients is that rate's super important, but the most important thing and probably the biggest value that we can provide to you as a mortgage professional, and the biggest obstacle to you reaching your goal of home ownership, is just getting your offer accepted. Really, right now, and I hate to say this because this is the business I'm in, pretty much anybody can get you contract to close, and anybody can get you an interest rate, and anybody can get you a lender fee, contract to close. They might, some might be better than others, worse than others, and for sure there are some bad ones and there's some really good ones. But overall, you're going to get keys to the house even if it's miserable, right? If you get into escrow in the first place. So we've crafted a very strategic process where we invest a ton of energy, resources, systems up front to maximize your chance of getting your offer accepted without having to, what a lot of our clients describe as overbidding for a home, right? We'll make sure that you're there at the table with the strongest possible offering that you can for that home that you want to see your family in. And then the conversation kind of starts to branch off from there, but that's really the fundamental thing, right? You put the need that's behind the need of interest rate up front, and you talk about that. Also, I don't know what you picked out from that, Dave, that you thought would be good to dig into more.
Well, first of all, boom, that was fantastic. And my ask to everybody, because I want to nail this for our community, I want the mortgage coach professional who's executing well, giving everyone a total cost analysis. giving this type of exceptional advice, I want you to share your value prop script. So we're going to transcribe what Danny just said. That will absolutely be part of the playbook that I'm putting together. And, you know, again, the takeaway, I don't think I need to repeat it. I think everybody heard it, is he educated. He was empathetic. Absolutely, rate's important. Absolutely, having the lowest cost of ownership over time is important. And I have process and tools to help you make a decision. But he educated and probably told a story around how getting the house of your dreams is most important and not overpaying for it. You know, so he even spoke to their concern, like everybody's afraid that they're not going to get it. Everybody's afraid that they're going to overpay. And Danny crafted, I'm going to help you do that. And by the way, it wasn't like a script. It was, that's what they're about. They're really going to deliver that. So we got 7 minutes left. I want to make sure we get a counter move. So let's face it, it's never been easier to shop for rates, you know, whether people don't go into their bank. So, I mean, that does happen where they go into their bank and they get ambushed. But what's more likely to happen is that they're, you know, check prices on Zillow, check prices online with their big bank. I mean, you know, they can rate shop with 5 different lenders in 5 different minutes. And so, you know, give us the counterpunch where it's like, Danny, you're awesome. We love you guys. But, you know, internet company lender is doing blank. Give us a couple counter moves on how you begin to negotiate and maintain that relationship.
So the first thing that and this is going to be super, super, super hard. It's still hard for me, and I've done it probably 100 times, but it's still hard. If somebody, when you go through the professional expectation speech, you introduce, you know, multiple value propositions, and they still say, you know what, I'm just going to go with the lowest interest rate no matter what. I appreciate all that other stuff that you said, but really this is going to come down to rate and fee for me. If you know you're not the lowest rate and fee that is available to them that they can access, let that person go before they crush your spirit, right? You need to be able to keep that gas in the tank for the people that are with you, right? So we do still get the calls, right? Where they say, you know what, like I was at the barbecue, my brother-in-law's best friend from his fraternity is a lender, and I called them. And here's the thing, if you've done all of the other steps properly, they're not calling you pissed off, right? Because if you're getting the pissed off call, like why'd you screw me? Like, why didn't you tell me I could walk down the street and get this other interest rate? And they start asking those questions up front, you're already toast, right? Your only play at that point is to match, right? Match or beat the interest rate that they're getting, and just hope that you can take away some of the bad taste that they have in their mouth, feeling like they got taken advantage of. So let's assume that they're coming at you and you've done all this stuff correctly, right? At that point, they're coming at you curious, right? They're saying, hey, like, I just want to understand why your rate quote was this, and why, you know, the Kansas City, Missouri basement guy that's in his underwear quoted me, you know, 0.25% lower, right? But that's not how they introduce it. But you look at the name of the mortgage company, you're like, that's probably not somebody that's a local professional. That's probably not somebody that had a, you know, a relationship and reputation within the marketplace that helped getting your offer accepted, right? These are things that are going on in my mind. But the question I ask immediately is, well, you know, Joe, you know, we've been working together for, you know, about 60 days now. I just want to remember the very, very first day we connected. You know, how did we connect, right? Oh, it was, you know, Sally Smith, real estate agent. You know, what did Sally tell you when, you know, she referred you over, right? Oh, well, Sally said you guys are the best at getting me an accepted offer, and that we were going to have a great experience before then. And then you and I spoke, right? And we talked about, you know, what it was going to mean to be competitive in this marketplace. And we talked through different strategies, and we said, you know, rate was super important, and it is, but there's some other things. And did we deliver on all that, right? So yes, actually you did. We're in escrow. We didn't have to go $50,000 over list price, right? You guys made the proactive call to the listing agent. You did all the stuff that you did. So you're reminding them of the value you already provided. Because here's the really crappy part about our business. 90% of what they need us for happens before they get into contract. Once they're in contract, right? That's the 10% of our job is left. But that's the only point at which we can actually get paid, right? We can't charge for best execution. You know, we can't There's no way for us to monetize that first part of our process. We have to get through this rate gate, right, in order to actually get to the finish line with them. So we have to have done all the things we needed to do, and then just remind them of them and say, look, this is a crazy world. I educate them about, how the rate market works and how competition within the rate space works and the differences between banks and direct lenders, mortgage banks, and just say, we are different. Hopefully you felt the positive side of that difference. I guarantee you that even if we're an 1/8% higher in interest rate, which it sounds like what we are, and let's break that down really quickly though, do a total cost analysis showing an 1/8 in rate higher, 1/4 in rate higher, do a comparison. That looks like it's only going to be about $58 a month. And I know that's real money, but let's break that down even further. It's like $1.50 a day, right? What happens if you get to your contingency removal and you release and then you get to closing and you find out the lender can't follow through and you have a $15,000 earnest money on the table, right? And that's at risk now, right? Let's think about how many $58 it would take to make up that risk, right, of going to somebody that you don't really know how they're going to execute because they haven't proven themselves through this whole process, right? It's a little bit more ad hoc than that. I feel like it's
tailored
setting, but you kind of get the framework of it, right?
Yeah, and at the end of the day, by the time you're talking to people in your process, they don't want to leave. They want to be your client for life.
Right.
They've seen the experience. So guys, I'm showing my screen right now because I want to make sure we not only got as much value out of this call, but that we really crush this playbook that I'm creating. So I am now in the Mortgage Coach Productivity Mastermind group. By the way, I did a great interview with Tom Ferry yesterday. Highly recommend it. He gave 5 ideas on how you as a lender can help realtors get more listings. He just made the case how, that's the most valuable thing you can bring to them. And he gave 5 ideas to do it. And as a mortgage coach, you're well positioned to execute on all 5 of those ideas. I shared the Mortgage Coach ROI platform. So looking forward to seeing how people fill that out. But what I wanted to close this call on is I also shared a draft of this playbook that I'm creating. I called it the Rate Shopping Playbook just because, that's the problem everybody has right now. But the real problem is that you're not converting, acquaintances, strangers into clients for life systematically and rapidly. So this playbook is going to do that. It's going to have scripts. Obviously, we're going to transpose Danny's scripts. We're going to put them in here. So my ask to everybody on this call is if you have a great value prop script, or as Danny put it, professional expectation script, share it in comments. We would love to get as much collaboration from the community as possible. And then also, I walked you through my framework of 7 things: educate your partner, train them on scripting, have a great initial consultation, total cost analysis, 5-star service, annual review. So we're walking you through that. But if you think there's some other legs to the stool or other, call it milestones that need to be achieved, share those. I want to make sure we create the most comprehensive playbook with the entire community at hand. So Danny, you have been awesome, my brother. Really appreciate you. I'm going to put up a poll question as we wrap up today's call. What did you think of today's call? Did we wow you and surpass expectations with value? Did you get some good takeaways? Let us know what you thought. And Danny, I'll give you the last words as I launch this poll. Any last words of wisdom for everybody on the call today?
Yeah, I just want to stress the fact that the battleground where we need to fight is in the client's living room, in their tribes, right? And I'm speaking to myself and our team too, if we keep throwing out online applications that they have to complete and we get away from the phone apps or face-to-face applications, if we don't do live consultations using the TCA live or face-to-face, we're just making ourselves more and more like our direct competitors. We need to be different. We need to look back at your business 5 years ago, and if you grew in success over the last 5 years but have seen stagnation, right? It's market forces, yes, but look at your behaviors, right? When's the last time you drove to a client's house to pick up their loan docs, right? And physically did that when it was obvious that they needed that. service. When's the last time you invited people or went to their home to take their loan application and go through a live consultation with them? If it's been too long, which I know it was for me when I did that, when that self-assessment, think about how you can change that in your business. You need to be different from the online lenders especially, and the call center lenders especially.
Yeah, you need to be high tech, but high touch, and high touch in the way that matters to every client.
Right.
Some clients, all they want to do is text, email, and do online. And you're not giving good service if you try to drive into their experience. Most clients are a hybrid. They want to have a combination of that high touch, high personal relationship, but with high tech, nuances. So it's up to you. If you want the client for life, ask great questions, get to know them rapidly, and deliver the high touch, high tech experience that they want and desire. So, hey, Danny, really appreciate you, brother. Thank you, as always, for making time for the Mortgage Coach community. This call is a wrap. Take care, everybody.